No one was meant to say it aloud. For years, owners tiptoed around the numbers in public. They spoke in safe terms: growth, culture, momentum, progress, carefully chosen words that wouldn't ruffle feathers. But something shifted. And when it did, pretending became impossible. It didn't begin on a press conference stage. It didn't unfold on television. It started behind closed doors, in a quiet room where screens displayed raw data instead of highlights, viewership graphs, revenue charts, partner forecasts. The silence grew when one owner noticed an anomaly. The league's buzz had never been louder, yet the dollars weren't following the same trajectory. Social media chatter was off the charts, but actual viewership lagged behind. Then he drilled down, isolating one variable: Caitlin Clark. The numbers didn't creep up, they exploded. At first, he assumed a glitch, a one-week fluke that would normalize. But it never did. Every appearance, every highlight, every mention of her name triggered spikes no campaign could manufacture. And then the unthinkable question surfaced: what happens if we strip everything else away and leave only her? The answer was startling. The model collapsed without her. The truth was undeniable: she wasn't part of the growth, she was the growth. Weeks later came the NBA on NBC segment. Marketed as a casual crossover, a symbolic nod, no one expected fireworks. And then the cameras rolled. Caitlin Clark didn't perform like a guest. She didn't play coy. She didn't exaggerate. She simply sat there, composed, and dismantled the game with a clarity and authority that made it obvious she had always belonged on that stage.
Caitlin Clark, her NBC, the numbers for that game have finally been released. The executives over there already speaking very highly of her. Is there a potential position in the future? Are they going to be expanding her role? More appearances to come? Sunday night basketball, milestone for NBA on NBC Sports. Lakers-Knicks, 4.5 million viewers on NBC plus Telemundo, 5 million peak audience. Most watched regular season Sunday night NBA game since 2002, excludes Christmas Day. Sunday night NBA games. Now, a Sunday night NBA, is that ABC included, or the ABC games Saturday night games from back in the day?
Millions tuned in. Not just WNBA fans. Not hardcore basketball followers. Ordinary people. Inside NBC Sports, producers noticed something they hadn't seen in years. Viewer retention didn't dip, it climbed. Audiences stayed through the segment. They replayed clips. They shared them beyond the usual sports circles. That night didn't just create buzz, it created leverage. The next morning, the owner reviewed the updated projections, and any pretense of protecting feelings vanished. According to multiple insiders, he said it plainly: this isn't incremental. It's exponential. Then he dropped the numbers, 50 times. 50 times the anticipated viewership. 50 times the expected revenue growth. 50 times the partner interest over baseline projections.
Spotlight that comes with an NBA national broadcast. So he loved every bit of what Caitlin Clark did and what she brought to the broadcast. Now, this is where he started talking a little bit about having Caitlin Clark back more than that March 29th announcement. So it says NBC Sports is planning to bring Clark back later this season. Cordella confirmed that she is scheduled to appear as an analyst for the Knicks versus Thunder on March 29th. As we know, he also added that he hopes to see more of Clark moving forward, signaling that the door is open for additional appearances. While no expanded role has been formally announced, the comment suggested genuine interest rather than casual praise. So, hey man, I don't know. We might see Caitlin working that booth. That'd be dope though, man. That'd be dope. Of course, with everything going on with the WNBA, we don't even know if we're going to have a season, man. Nonsensical work.
50 times. That number was never meant to leave the room. But once it did, everything shifted. Because if a single player can multiply a league by 50, it forces a hard truth: the league wasn't the engine. She was. Word spread fast. Media insiders confirmed it quietly. Advertisers noticed immediately. Conversations changed. Calls were no longer about balance across the league, they were about positioning around her. Jealousy followed. Not the loud, petty kind. Professional, calculated jealousy. Other leagues took note of the NBC numbers. They saw audiences migrate. They saw attention shift, and attention is currency. Tension mounted. For years, the unspoken rule was clear: no player becomes bigger than the system. The system stays in control. Caitlin Clark broke that rule effortlessly. She didn't demand. She didn't threaten. She didn't complain. She simply showed up and performed. And her performance forced the owner's hand. He went public, not with anger, but with math. He laid out the story the numbers told: viewership before her appearances, flat, predictable, controlled. Then he revealed what came next: spikes so sharp they seemed impossible. Revenue lines bending upward as if someone had pulled them higher. That's when he spoke the sentence that would define the season.
WNBA presented to the players. This is the most recent proposal, and I guess they also brought this to the meeting on Monday. It's so funny, on all of these documents in the corner it says confidential, but they are currently circulating all around Twitter. So I want to go over some of these bullet points with you guys. The first slide, it said WNBA CBA proposal: goals for a win-win CBA. Number one, substantially increase player salaries to reflect recent future business growth. That number one bullet point is something that Adam Silver has said many of times when he is asked about the WNBA CBA. This is, again, it seems to be why the two sides are on different sides. It seems like the WNBA wants to raise the salary enough to where they don't have to give a percentage of this gross revenue that the players want. And that's where the players are feeling like there's such a disconnect, because it seems like they would prefer the revenue split over the salaries just increasing. But again, you can see here, substantially increased player salaries, which they have, by the way. They've increased the salaries like 6 times the amount of what they used to be. Number two, promote business health and profitability. And that has been such a big thing in all of these. And a lot of fans have chimed in like, the WNBA has never been profitable. And the WNBA is still young, you guys. It is going into its 30th season. And when we did the comparison of WNBA salaries in their 30th season, if they take this deal, and NBA salaries in their 30th season, and obviously we did the math for inflation, all those things, the WNBA players will actually be making more than NBA players were in their 30th season. So that's why I just don't think this deal is such a bad deal like all of the players seem to think it is. But the WNBA is still focused on good business health and profitability. Number three, maintain incentives for team and league investments. Now, this next slide shows
we underestimated her impact. Underestimated sounded polite. The truth was harsher. They didn't realize who had been carrying them. The moment that statement hit the internet, reactions were immediate. Fans debated. Comment sections erupted. Other leagues went silent. Silence usually means one thing: they're watching. And what they saw was frightening. Caitlin Clark didn't just bring viewers to the WNBA. She brought them to basketball broadcasts, period. NBC discovered new audiences. Sponsors found fresh demographics. The pie didn't just grow, it shifted. And that shift created enemies. You could feel it, in coverage, in tone, in sudden efforts to reframe the narrative, to insist growth is collective, not individual. But the numbers were already public. Once data is out, it can't be boxed back in. Jealousy quickly morphed into panic. One player creating this much value meant she didn't need the league needed her. That realization changes power overnight. The owner didn't retreat. He doubled down.
So, obviously Caitlin Clark's voice, the biggest voice that can speak on this, because she's been the catalyst for the WNBA being in position for a transformative CBA, a change in salaries, the way that they're headed. So it's good to hear that she's confident. She's always expressed so much love around the league and what it can become and what it was and all of those things. But nonetheless, it's still got to be a deal that's done. So you can get to the WNBA draft later, after the free agency and after the expansion drafts. But hopefully, that's a good sign for WNBA fans that the league's biggest star is saying she's confident a CBA will get done. Then there were some other topics hit up on the broadcast as well, including her wanting to play at Madison Square Garden. You know, that is where she was broadcasting from, the Knicks and the Lakers. It is a great arena. I've spent a lot of time in the Garden.
Lakers and the Knicks taking center stage here for the 302nd overall meeting. And for the first time ever, we've got basketball night in America, the first Sunday in February. And we're joined by our special correspondent. Welcome to the team, Caitlin Clark. Yes.
Welcome. MSG for a Knicks game, so it's pretty cool.
I know, it's our first Knicks game, first time feeling the atmosphere. We got to get you to play on this court one day.
We have to talk to Matt Adam about that.
Can we make it mellow? Honestly, if there's someone
even if it's a preseason game, we got to get it done. I don't think the Liberty will want to move a game over here, but we'll play anybody. That'll be fun.
Yeah. How could you describe maybe the atmosphere your first time in it?
Well, I think as a player, like, this is kind of when you feel the atmosphere the most, is when you're out on the court warming up. So, I mean, there's just a different type of buzz. And obviously when LeBron comes to town, it's probably really different. But, you know, Knicks.
He detailed how sponsorship calls transformed after NBC. Partners now demanded guarantees tied directly to her appearances. Negotiations that once dragged for months suddenly became urgent. And that's when another truth hit: she wasn't just changing viewership. She was changing timelines. Deals moved faster. Decisions accelerated. Old excuses vanished. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark stayed silent. No victory laps. No comments about money. No reaction to jealousy. She simply played. And that silence cut deep. When someone reshapes everything without saying a word, the system looks fragile. The owner later tried to soften the impact, talking about teamwork, league-wide growth, the importance of everyone. But the damage was done. 50 times. That number didn't fade. Fans repeated it. Media amplified it. Other leagues watched, riveted. Behind the scenes, strategies shifted overnight. Marketing recalibrated. Schedules realigned. Media priorities pivoted. Every change pointed back to the same undeniable truth: Caitlin Clark wasn't riding a wave. She was the wave.
More iconic figure in basketball in the women's game right now, or the game in general. So we said, let's have a bigger conversation. And it's just so crazy that it feels like every other sport will just come out and say what it is besides the WNBA. The NBA is not scared to acknowledge that there's no more iconic figure in basketball. Not just the women's game, but possibly the game in general than Caitlin Clark. But we would not hear that in the WNBA space. We wouldn't hear that from WNBA media. But the NBA media and the NBA and the league itself is not scared to say it. Like we've seen it when Caitlin does golf events. It just seems like every league but her own is not scared to say the truth. But I do think it's really
The jealousy wasn't personal. It was structural. Other leagues saw attention drifting. They saw advertisers asking new questions. They saw fans choosing where to spend their time, and time is the one thing you can't manufacture. By the end of the month, the league had transformed. Not because of a rule change. Not because of a rebrand. But because one player forced honesty. The owner didn't set out to create controversy. He only meant to explain success. Yet in doing so, he exposed dependence. And dependence changes everything. Caitlin Clark didn't just grow the league. She revealed what it was actually worth. Once a league understands its true value, there's no going back to pretending. This wasn't hype. This was math. This wasn't marketing. This was reality. And it shook everyone because nobody expected the truth to be this clear, this massive, this tied to a single name. That's why the jealousy felt real. That's why the silence was deafening. This moment won't be remembered as a debut. It will be remembered as a turning point, the day the owner stopped hiding the numbers. The day the league learned who truly drives it. The day Caitlin Clark changed the business of basketball without asking permission. Forever.